Hi there, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Gladys Chebet. You'll find me on my YouTube channel as Gladys Chesurem. My YouTube channel is all about education. It is all about imparting knowledge both to the students and the non-students, as explained in my last session. So welcome so much into this other session. And as the saying goes, that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. We are going to start with a step today, whereby we are going to define what is history. We're also going to define what is government. We are also going to give the branches of history, the arms of the government, and the forms of the government. So, what is history? Many scholars have attempted to define what history is, and I'm going to give you some of this definition. History is a branch of knowledge that deals with past events of human beings and their response to the environment. Also, some definitions say that it is a branch of science that deals with past events of human beings and their response to their environment in a chronological manner. There is this scholar is called R.G. Collingwood, and in his book, The Idea of History, he argues that history is a science concerned with human actions in the past, pursued by interpretation of evidence for the sake of human self-knowledge. So when you look at these definitions, among the keyword is past events as well as chronological manner, sequential manner, or in a manner that is orderly. But for me, I can define history as the study of man's past events, present and future events, and how it affects him in an orderly manner. Because you cannot trivialize the meaning of history just to deal with the past events. History also deals with the present events. It also predicts the future events. So meaning history does not only deals with past. So that's why I'm saying history is the study of man's past, present and future events in a chronological manner and how it affects him. We also have another aspect, that is prehistory. What is prehistory? Prehistory refers to the unrecorded or the unwritten history, that is history before writing. And during this time, how was information stored? The knowledge that was being gained, it was being stored in form of songs, myths, stories, artifacts, fossils, and the language of people. That is how information was being stored before the writings, or before the many ways of information were being invented on how to store those information. So let's look at the branches of history. We have three branches of history. We have social history, we have economic history, as well as political history. Social history deals with the traditions, values, and cultural practices of a people. Economic history refers to the means of a livelihood of a people, such as hunting and gathering, as well as trade. We also have political history. It deals with the control system in a society, for example, maintenance of law and order, leadership and society. So that's all about the definition of history, prehistory, as well as the forms or the branches of history, not forms but the branches of history. So let's look at government. If they ask you what is the meaning of government, government, it is being derived from the word govern, which means to exercise authority over, to rule or control. So we can define government as a group of people within a state or a country given an authority to organize, direct, and control the affairs of a state or a country. So that's maybe how I can define what government is. Something to do with governing people, something to do with impacting authority on a people, something to do with controlling people. Those are key words you should not forget when you are defining what government is. So in Kenya, we have the three arms, that is the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. And each arm of the government, they play their own different roles. Like for the legislature, this is a lawmaking body, and also they amend laws. Apart from making laws, they also amend laws. And the legislature, which is also called the parliament, it includes the National Assembly as well as the president. And then we have this other arm, the executive arm of the government. It implements the laws that have been made by the legislature. And the executive, it includes the president, the cabinet, and the civil service. Another arm of the government is the judiciary, and the judiciary deals, or it has a work of enforcing the law. And this judiciary is responsible for seeing that these laws that have been made by the legislature, are they constitutional or they are not, are they constitutional or they are not constitutional. And also, so meaning this judiciary, it also acts as the watchdog of the laws of the land to make sure that the laws of the land are being followed. Yeah, so let's go to the forms of government. We have 4 forms of government, that is democratic government, dictatorial government, aristocratic government, as well as monarchical government. So I'm going one by one to define these 4 forms of government. The first form, as I had said, it is democratic government. And in this form of government, it requires the rulers to regularly seek the public mandate of the people through a popular vote. And when you see, it is based on the premise that elections are free and fair, and the elected official represent the wishes and aspirations of the people. Just like we did in Kenya the other time on 9th August. It shows that our country is democratic. It is based on free and fair elections, but it's upon you to answer that question. Was it fair or unfair? I don't know, but you as a Kenyan, you can answer that question. And then you have a famous American statement. He's called Abraham Lincoln, and he defines a democratic type of government as a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. That's also another definition of the democratic government. Another form of government is the dictatorial government, and a dictatorial government are being ruled by people who are called dictators. And in this form of government, this is whereby rulers have total power over their subjects, and they act as the final or the sole authority of the people. Whatever they make, it is final. You cannot question, you cannot do anything about the decisions they make. And we have some examples of the dictators that have been written down in history. We have Idi Amin Dada of Uganda, who was a former president of Uganda. We also have Adolf Hitler of Germany. We also have Benito Mussolini of Italy. You can also name those dictators. And then we have this aristocratic form of government as the third form. And this is whereby a group of people from the highest social class exercise authority over the lesser people in the society. And this is whereby the royal people in the society, and these royal people, like let's say rich people, the noble people, the royal people, are the ones who rule over those people who are poor. It is a socially stratified government whereby only the noble, the royal people rule over the less noble or the less privileged in the society. And it's only those who are noble that seek election or appointment to a government office. And in this form of government, of aristocracy, it is the king or the queen who is the head of the government. And in this form of government, it is also very interesting because they say that these nobles are being considered as the rare breed. So meaning if you come from a noble family, according to the aristocratic government, you are a rare breed of people because you are wealthy and you are being considered as the rare breed. And then finally, we have a monarchical form of government, and this is whereby democracy is being practiced, but aristocratic power is being respected. And in this form of government, parliament is the supreme organ, but the monarchy, the royalty who are in power, either a king or a queen, are still retained as a tradition, and they are being respected as the head of state. And in the monarchical form of government, it is being divided into two. We have the absolute monarchy and constitutional monarchy. The difference between the two is whereby in absolute monarchy, the monarchy is dictatorial in nature, whereby the head of the state has unrestricted power, whereas for the constitutional monarchy, it is a bit democratic because restricted monarchical power is being determined by what is spelled in the constitution. So that's all about the four forms of the government. But before I finish and wrap it all, we have characteristics of government. There are 5 in number. So among the characteristics of the government, it has rules. It has rules that control and regulate the people's behavior in a government. Another characteristic is that every government has law enforcement. It enforces the laws, and this is whereby those who break the laws are being punished. And another characteristic is sovereignty, that the government is the supreme authority that exercises powers within its jurisdiction. Something to do with sovereign. You have your own jurisdiction and you exercise powers within that jurisdiction. Like we can say Kenya is a sovereign state because it has its own jurisdiction. It cannot go to Uganda or Tanzania and exercise its power, but it exercises within its own jurisdiction because it is a sovereign state. And then another characteristic of a government is legitimacy, and that people in any given government should accept it to make it legitimate. Those people who are being those people who are in government should accept that government to make it legitimate. Otherwise, if people reject that government, it becomes illegitimate. But one characteristic of the government is that it has what we call legitimacy, that that people in any given government should accept it to make it legitimate. And then finally, the final characteristic is jurisdiction, that a government has a given geographical area within which it can exercise power. So meaning every government has that jurisdiction. They have that jurisdiction because in Kenya, we cannot exercise our own powers to other places. Maybe it's a bit almost the same as sovereignty, but this is jurisdiction. Jurisdiction whereby you just have to be in your boundaries. Don't cross the other boundaries of other nations. So it should have what you call jurisdiction. But for sovereignty, we see that it is the government who has the supreme authority that to exercise power within its own jurisdiction. So we have the 6 characteristics, or rather the 5 characteristics of the government. So that's all we have today. But we have defined what history is. We have also stated the branches of history. We have defined government. We have also given the arms of government, and also I have explained the forms of government. So until next time, I don't have much for today. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next session, have a blessed time. Goodbye.